During the time of the Black Plague, SCP-049 was just a simple, poor man living in a village with his wife and daughter. Suddenly, he saw an actual plague doctor riding a horse near his house before falling in front of him and succumbing to the plague. The man looked at the now dead doctor and had the idea to steal the doctor's garments and disguise himself as a doctor to scam people and gain money for his family. However, unbeknownst to him, by taking the garments he made a deal with Small Death or the Brother's Death, which caused the man to become cursed as one of the many agents of Small Death. He visited different regions and spread death, with people believing he was a real doctor, since he was somehow immune to the plague. After becoming rich, he returned to his home to reunite with his family, but to his horror, found his wife had succumbed to the plague and was partially eaten, while his daughter was soaked in blood, but was thankfully still alive, thanks to her immunity which she had inherited from her father. It is unknown what happened after, but it is presumed that the man did surgeries on himself, removing parts of his organs in order to store his tools inside his body, removing his own skin and grafting his costume and mask to his body, and removing parts of his brain and even replacing it with another brain altogether. After some unknown amount of time, the doctor relocated to the dimensional nexus of the kingdom of Alagada. However, the doctor was annoyed by the imbecility of the natives and their lack of logic. To make things worse, the doctor was unable to find his book in which he had written his findings, causing immense frustration to him. After telling some visitors to leave him alone, the doctor received an invitation from the Black Lord of Alagada. Upon arriving to the Lord's palace, the two met and introduced each other. The Black Lord was curious about the doctor's medicine and asked if he could cure him of any disease he might have, but the doctor was discouraged and was afraid he could not. Suddenly, a monster appeared from the walls of the palace and heavily injured the Lord, leaving the doctor to perform a surgery on him, and during the procedure, the doctor finally remembered his cure. After the Lord was cured, he only gave the doctor his gratitude and ushered him out to leave. After finally remembering his cure, the doctor decided to leave Alagada and return to Earth. In 1665 to 1666, the time of day and night went haywire, with the sun not coming out in London for several days, or when it did come out, it would not set. At this time, the Black Plague seemed to have returned, so the plague doctor took the chance to take the bodies of the recently deceased and reanimate them, which caused mass panic throughout London. After the day and night schedule returned to normal thanks to Lord David Blackwood killing the fairy hybrid who was responsible for the disruption, the plague doctor took residence inside a monastery of the Fifth Church, where he was revered as a holy figure, although he himself didn't think much of the place. He operated on the members of the church for some time, making their bodies into abominations so they could be more fitting for their religion's ideals. Tonight's case file, SCP-049, the Plague Doctor. Don't forget to subscribe. SCP-049 was discovered in Montauban, France, when the SCP Foundation were investigating some mysterious disappearances. They found 049 surrounded by the people he had turned into SCP-049-2. While the Foundation exterminated the SCP-049-2 instances, SCP-049 took notes on what was happening and then willingly surrendered to the Foundation. Under their custody, 049 kept doing experiments with various mammalians which were provided to him by the Foundation in order to keep him calm. On April 16, 2017, when he was being interviewed by Dr. Raymond Ham, a doctor who spent a lot of time with 049 and considered him a friend, 049 became agitated and attacked Ham, killing him and turning him into an 049-2 in 3 hours, since security wasn't activated. SCP-049 is very well-mannered, respectful, and polite, so it makes little attempt at escape. It seems to truly believe what it is doing is for the greater good, stating that its cure is most effective. It is unknown why SCP-049 believes that it must eradicate this pestilence, or what the pestilence truly is. SCP-049 is also extremely courteous and affable to both humans and fellow SCPs alike. It states that it does not like to speak because of the melancholy and pensive nature of the victims of the pestilence, and they do not react well to conversation. This shows that it still has its victims' best interests in mind when performing its procedure. The Plague Doctor's touch is extremely lethal to humans, killing those that come into contact with it within minutes. SCP-049 then produces out of his body a black bag filled with medical and surgical tools, then begins surgery on the victim, inserting several unknown chemicals into the corpse. After a few minutes, the subject's vital signs will resume, and the subject, now an instance of SCP-049-2, will begin to function normally, except lacking any higher brain function. The victim will be rendered completely feral, violent, aggressive, and dangerous, and will wander until it encounters another human. It will then attack and kill the human being before returning to its unintelligent and brainless state. SCP-049 was once thought incapable of speech, but this was later debunked when it spoke in a male voice, saying that while it can speak, it simply prefers not to. It explained that it seeks to eradicate the Great Pestilence from the world, which is assumed to be the bubonic plague. However, this is unconfirmed, as SCP-049 senses the pestilence in subjects who do not possess the disease, and has not seen it in some other human subjects which do. SCP-049 believes it is doing a great service by curing the infected. When confronted about the effectiveness of the cure, SCP-049 would not continue. It is possible that the pestilence is life itself, which 049 believes that it destroys the souls of people, and therefore it should be ridden from their bodies. The Plague Doctor is probably one of the most well-known SCPs, and one of the earliest. I generally don't like to do many very well-known SCPs, but this one, I just couldn't resist. I didn't want to recite the usual stories regarding 049, and instead decided to give you a bit of background of how he came to be, and how he ended up in Foundation custody. As always, I hope you enjoyed your time with Professor Lucius, and of course, subscribe, share, and like. Leave a comment if you would, and let me know what you thought of this story, and what other SCPs you'd like to see. Have a good evening. From your host as always, Professor Lucius.